the huge energy crisis that the country is facing. Restaurants practically shut in Bengaluru, Mumbai, Delhi and most urban cities facing the same fiasco. The impact of this war, thousands of kilometers away, continues to be felt in Indian restaurants and kitchens. Just look at these visuals that are coming in from the Mahadeva Gas Agency, Basti in Uttar Pradesh, where people there frantically getting their hand on a gas cylinder because they feel they're going to run out of cooking gas cylinder. This is the level of panic that's setting in, from railway stations to restaurants, kitchens, from canteens to hotel chains. India is now beginning to feel the squeeze of an LPG supply shock triggered by escalating tensions in West Asia. The Indian Railway Catering and Tourism Corporation has now asked its catering units to prepare contingency plans for a possible LPG shortage. In Uttarakhand, the government is even preparing to supply firewood to businesses if gas supplies worsen. Imagine cooking on firewood, and that's what's happening in Hyderabad now. It's happening in Bengaluru, where restaurants are literally using firewood. You see that in Hyderabad. India's kitchens now moving to firewood. Hotels in Chennai, a section of hotels and restaurants have already declared holiday altogether following the lack of commercial LPG supplies to establishments. Restaurants in Andhra Pradesh are warning shutdowns. Andhra Pradesh Star Hotels Association on Tuesday has appealed to the state government to ensure reasonable, uninterrupted supply of commercial gas cylinders as oil marketing companies are rationing. In fact, in Mumbai, people have begun turning to electric appliances already for quick cooking. In fact, the market there is witnessing a surge in purchases of appliances such as electric cookers, microwave ovens, toasters, grills, electric tawa, air fryers, electric steamers and hot plates. This is what's being used. And even the Delhi High Court lawyers' canteen today, we hear, has stopped cooking full meals. In fact, they've written a letter to all the advocates saying don't expect main meals here in the canteen because there's no cooking, there's no gas to cook those meals, including dishes that are most popular in these court canteens, Delhi High Court, like biryani and dal makhani, shahi paneer, are all off the table, leaving customers in black robes, the advocates there, to make do with whatever lighter options such as sandwiches and salads. This is what we hear is happening at the Delhi High Court. Well, we know that a notice placed on the tables in the lawyers' canteen shows very clearly that this is to respectfully inform you that due to the unavailability of LPG gas cylinder at present, we regret that we are unable to prepare and serve the main course items in the lawyers' canteen. So you see it across cities. We're looking at a full crunch when it comes to commercial restaurants, basically commercial supply of gas cylinders. It seems like it's nearly halted. Delhi restaurants are dropping those dishes. They're not making such grand menus. They're basically keeping the menu very limited and minimum. So, well, in Mumbai also, similar affair. We're looking at gas supply to many restaurants in Mumbai is now being cut off. Gas supply has slowed at House of Co, located in Chembur area. 178-year-old Pancham Puriwala Hotel that's now reduced their menu from 79 dishes that they have on their menu to just 2 dishes that they are serving in the restaurant there. In Bhopal, one can see long queues for gas cylinders. People are having to literally line up outside warehouses since this morning. They're requesting for cylinders for the entire month so that they don't run out. So we're looking at people really trying as much as possible to get their hand. Now, even though it is only commercial supply that's limited, you have now resident citizens by and large worrying that this could hit their home, their household. So they are preparing in advance, willing to pay a little hefty price to get their hands on a spare cylinder, if at all. The government says it claims that it has lined up alternative crude supplies. The Indian government says that it has lined up alternative crude supplies from 40 countries, and India has enough oil reserves to last 70 days, by which time ships are expected to arrive with a lot more. That's what the Indian government has said. But commercial LPG supplies are already being restricted. The government has stepped up LPG production and is prioritizing domestic consumers and essential sectors. They have set up a committee of executive directors from oil marketing companies where requests from other non-domestic sectors will be reviewed and prioritized based on merit, necessity and product availability. Now, for essential requirements from other sectors, submissions can be made to the committee by emailing at the email ID that has been given. So, well, India's kitchens, restaurants, small businesses all prepared for a prolonged fuel disruption and crisis. Our reporters of News9 were on the ground in multiple cities of Bengaluru, Mumbai, Bhopal. Let's have a look what really the crisis looks like.
3,000 रुपये जो है इसके दाम है। 2,000 रुपये पहले ये बिकता था। इंडक्शन जो फिलहाल हर घर में और हर तमाम बड़े रेस्टोरेंट में इसकी ज़रूरत पड़ चुकी है क्योंकि गैस की सप्लाई बंद हो चुकी है। अब महंगा लग रहा है आपको? ये पहले लेकर रख लेते?
महंगा लगे या सस्ता लगे अभी तो खरीदना है। 2 मैं खरीदा हूँ। अभी 3 पीस और चाहिए।
कहाँ लेके जाएंगे?
कमर्शियल होटल में काम
अच्छा
लग रहा है।
वहाँ बोला लेके आइए।
लेके जाना ही पड़ेगा ना।
लेके जाएंगे तो फिर खाने का मेन्यू कार्ड भी बढ़ा देंगे।
बढ़ेगा ही। अभी इसका पैसा किधर से भी तो हमको निकालना पड़ेगा ना।
यहाँ पर आप जो कमर्शियल गैस सिलेंडर्स जो हैं वो पहले कितने आते थे और अभी कितने आ रहे हैं?
मैडम आते हैं, कम आते हैं और कभी आ रहे हैं कभी नहीं आ रहे। तो 50% आप मान के चलो, जो 100% आता था 50% माल आ रहा है हमारे पास।
अच्छा, तो पहले क्या स्टॉक में रहता था?
पहले तो जी स्टॉक में रहता था, माल बहुत ज़्यादा रहता था, स्टॉक में आता ही रहता था डेली, तो सेल कम थी। अब माल कम आने की वजह से डिमांड ज़्यादा हो गई। अब जैसे ही आता माल चला जाता है।
शुरुआत में ही नो गैस सप्लाई का बोर्ड यहाँ पर लगा है। सॉरी, नॉट ऑल मेनू आइटम्स अवेलेबल। गैस पुरवठा बंद आहे, यानी गैस सप्लाई बंद है, इसका बोर्ड यहाँ पर लगाया गया है। देख सकते हैं यहाँ पर पूरी भाजी, ये मशहूर यहाँ की ये डिश है पंचम पूरी वाला। ये कब से मशहूर है? देखिए ऊपर से आप देख सकते हैं कि इसकी जो खासियत है हर न्यूज़पेपर में यहाँ पर दिखाई पड़ती है। 178 साल पुरानी दुकान है, लेकिन आज यहाँ पर गैस नहीं है।
जैसे ही सरकार ने कमर्शियल सिलेंडर को बैन किया है, उसके बाद से लोग जो है उन्हें कहीं ना कहीं चिंता हो रही है कि सिलेंडर मिलेगा या नहीं मिलेगा, और इसी के चलते जो है वो लोग अब इस तरह से डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स के पास एलपीजी सिलेंडर लेने के लिए पहुंच रहे हैं। आपसे बातचीत करते हैं, क्यों सुबह से आप लगे? क्या आप घर पर अब डिलीवरी नहीं हो रही है?
सर अभी घर पर ये फ़ोन नहीं उठा रहे हैं डिलीवरी के लिए, तो घर पे आने की संभावना ख़त्म हो चुकी है, इसीलिए आकर लाइन में लगना पड़ रही है।
All right, you're seeing what you see there on the ground. Let me quickly bring in our guests. Ujjwal Singh Bhatia, former ambassador to WTO. We have Captain Alok Bansal, who's Director, India Foundation and Naval Officer as well. Arvind R, Vice President of All India Indian LPG Distributors Association, and Subramanya Holla, President, Bangalore Hotel Association, who's yet to join us. But a quick word before I get to our experts. Arvind R, tell us the real crunch that India is seeing. All India Indian LPG Distributors Association, you're heading that body. The Indian government is saying there's no real crisis as such, but give us a little picture into reality. What's the truth?
Actually speaking, they have reserves for about 20-25 days, so we need not worry about domestic cylinders. But because of the panic booking that is happening now, people have, because the commercials they've stopped, commercial and industrial, they've reduced, but they're giving it for essential industries. So the commercial cylinders are being given to essential industries like hospitals and colleges and school hostels and all that. But since they have stopped it for the restaurants and other industries, because they're prioritizing the domestic cylinders, people have panicked and they've started booking. The normal book, it's more than 2.5 times the normal bookings and all that. So that has led to system crash. That has led to booking lines being busy, and so that has increased the panic, and people have started flooding the distributorships. So we are actually telling them that do not worry, your supplies will be there, but don't panic and book, because bookings have increased. We have to deliver. So earlier we were giving it in 1 day, 2 days. Now it might have to go to 3 or 4 days because of excess booking. Other than that, I don't think there is any shortage of domestic cylinders. But yes, commercial cylinders, there is a little shortage because the government is prioritizing domestic cylinders. So the commercial cylinders are not being supplied to hotels and restaurants.
When you say there is a little shortage, Arvind, we are seeing a lot of restaurants who've shut shop. In fact, and it's been day 3 now. Day 1 was day before when restaurants started raising an alarm. Yesterday, I believe, in day before, by 3 o'clock itself, most restaurants were shut. Right after lunch, they said we are not open for dinner. Yesterday, practically most restaurants in Bengaluru and Mumbai, no, I wouldn't say most, but a lot of restaurants said that they cannot serve because they don't have cooking gas. And then today was even worse. So you don't I mean, give us a little more on how bad is the crunch? Look, the entire restaurant business is hit.
Yeah, government has decided to stop for restaurants and some industries, but continuing to give it for essential industries. So I will sympathize with our restaurant owners and hotel owners because yes, they will feel the pinch, but we have supplied them for the last 2 days, whatever stock we had. So they have to now actually rationalize it, and a lot of people have started using induction, electric rice cookers, and all that. But they've cut down on menus and they're going on. We sympathize with them, but that's a decision the government has to take because the priority is domestic cylinders.
Domestic cylinders, but now you have restaurants opting for cooking on wood, wooden cooking. I don't know how practical and how heavy duty cooking can happen in those vessels. You know, we are showing you those images there. This is in Hyderabad. We believe that they are cooking. It's Ramzan time also, so they're cooking on wooden. I don't know how they do it, but they are, and electric, you know, vessels and appliances are now in demand. But heavy duty cooking is impossible. Right, but a quick word from our former ambassador to WTO, Ujjwal Singh Bhatia. Sir, your take on this crisis. The energy crisis was expected, but I don't know if we have acted in time to ensure it doesn't deal a blow to our larger population. But it seems like the restaurant industry is being the first victim to this West Asia war. We hear there are some reports coming in that Bengaluru power supply could be affected soon enough because GAIL has cut off fuel to that unit in Yelahanka. So now we're looking at restaurants not having gas. Tomorrow we could see electricity and power cuts in different parts of the country, all thanks to this war. And is there anything that India can really do? What max can we do?
Well, I don't think we should pretend that everything is normal. We are facing a serious global crisis, and obviously we have to tighten our belts. The government has announced a pretty sensible policy of ensuring supply for domestic consumers, while at the same time ensuring also supply for essential services. And in the meantime, the government has taken several other steps to ramp up supply, asking local producers to increase their production, or capping alternative sources for getting more deliveries of gas and so on. So I think these shortages will be managed. I think, and in the days to come, when alternative supply routes are established, I think the situation should stabilize.
Bansal? All right, we seem to have lost his connection. But Sir Ujjwal Singh, you're a little more on this crisis that's unfolding at this point. Trump does not seem to bother. Iran has already declared that oil prices could go up to $200 per barrel. And this they're doing wantingly, deliberately to sort of show the world that this is what they can do to the world economy, that they could bring it down to their knees. So Iran is retaliating, and how, and whatever little life that they have left, they're pulling all strings to ensure that the world economy is crippled. But Israel and the United States do not seem to stop either. They're not pulling back, they continue, irrespective of the repercussions we're all facing. So where does this stop then?
Well, it would be a pretty foolish person who could predict when and how this is going to stop. I think the Iranians are boxed up in a corner and they are retaliating. And the United States and Israel have also not stopped their offensive. So with the Iranian leadership decapitated, at the moment there does not seem to be anybody in Iran to negotiate. So how these hostilities can be reduced or ceased will depend on a number of factors, of which are not very clear at the moment. At the same time, we must understand that as far as disruption of energy supplies is concerned, it does not only depend upon cessation of hostilities, but also the damage to the production networks, production systems that has happened due to the attacks of various parties. And as of now, let me also say that energy prices have risen both for gas and for oil, but they are nowhere near the highs in historical terms. So I think there is no scope for panic. We certainly hope that senior councils will prevail on all sides, and things will come to a halt. The hostilities will come to a halt very soon. We certainly hope that matters are not further aggravated. For instance, in
Mediating. Who do
uh,
you think, what's with the United Nations? There's really no mediator now to flag this off, to calm nerves and tempers, to remind these countries of the repercussions that this war is leading to. There's no mediator. Can't anyone mediate?
No, I don't think it would be correct to say there are no mediators. There are mediators. Unfortunately, the United Nations does not seem to have a big role in this mediation effort. But there are other countries who are trying to bring the parties together and
Like
to at
who,
least,
sir?
well, there would be countries within the Gulf region. There would be countries like Russia. There would be behind the scene talks with
Russia is
countries like
anything but mediating. Russia is basically given unconditional support to Iran. This is only, this is
No.
basically.
Let's not get carried away. Everybody has an interest in global stability, and nobody wants to provoke things beyond a point. Neither the United States, nor Russia, nor China, nor India, nobody. So everybody is going to get hurt if things go south, and therefore there are people in the world who are working behind the scenes. We don't know the details of this yet, but let's hope things work out well.
Captain Bansal, what's your take on who the mediators are? I don't see anyone mediating at this point. The United
The only
Nations is a
mediator
dummy
who was
body
there.
at this juncture.
Oman was the country which was mediating, and Omani foreign minister made it very clear that most of the demands were met by Iran before the strike started. So Oman was the ideal mediator. I am sure China also must be trying to do some sort of a mediation, because China is another country which is affected deeply by the closure of Strait of Hormuz. As far as Russia is concerned, it actually helps it, because the oil prices have gone over the roof, and Russia need not give any discount to any country which is buying crude from it now, because now from a seller's market, it has become a, from a buyer's market, it has become a seller's market. So there is a shortage, and that is there. So in this sort of a conflict, mediation is very difficult, because the ball is now squarely in United States court. They are the ones who started the conflict. Now, Trump can any day say that we have achieved our objective, we changed the regime, the Vilayat Faqih is no more, the new leader has come, so you can claim. That's the only way. Otherwise, this conflict seems to be a long drawn affair, because he expects Iranians to do an unconditional surrender, which a proud nation like Iran, to my mind, would not do so. I have been to Iran a number of times. Israel, of course, has a different angle. It would want the conflict to remain prolonged, because it wants to weaken the Iranian state. So in this sort of a situation, the conflict will only end when it becomes politically impossible for Trump to sustain it. And already we are seeing that the public opinion in United States is turning against it. The US per se is not affected by the closure of energy pathways, because US is today a net energy exporter. But all US allies, the European countries, the Japan, they are all affected. And if I think this gas is not available, they will perforce have to go back to Russia. So that's the option which is probably available with many of them. Fortunately for them, it's the summer time, so the requirement or the demand is not as high as it would have been in the winters. So that's the solution, because now, even if Strait of Hormuz is opened, it will take weeks before the normal supply can be resumed, because countries like Qatar, which is the largest exporter of natural gas, have actually shut down. And it will take about 2 weeks to revive the production, because countries like Iraq have capped many of their oil wells because they don't have storage capacity, and no ships are leaving Persian Gulf. So there is a systemic failure at this point of time, and there is of course a shortage which we'll have to accept. But as far as India is concerned, we are not so badly off, because we have our strategic reserves. we are also at this point of time, before the closure of the strait, we were only importing around 20% of our crude from this area. The crisis is as far as natural gas is concerned, because natural gas is where we have a problem. And I think that is what the government is looking into, because I think even today, Reliance came out with an advisory saying that we are producing LPG and we are actually ramping up our LPG production. We are actually trying to augment it to the best ability. And I think the crisis as far as LPG is concerned is more driven by news. The panic that's been created
Let me fact check that with Subramanya Holla, who is the president of Bangalore Hotel Association. Subramanya, please tell me, this is just fear mongering that news is doing and not reality in Bengaluru.
In Bangalore, I would like to state one thing very clearly. In the last 2 days, I think not a single gas has been delivered by the gas companies here. So literally IOC and Bharat Petroleum and HP have stopped bottling plants, and they have not been supplying gas to anybody in Bangalore. So people have stocks for the next 2 days, and then we don't know what's going to happen.
So you're saying there's a serious crunch. Then what?
There is a serious crunch here because there is no gas available. The IOC is not giving it to its dealers also. If dealers are left with some cylinders, that is all we have. And after that, we don't have anything.
See, Captain Alok Bansal, it's a reality on the ground. It's not as if...
No, see, the commercial cylinders have been stopped. That's a government policy which has been made so that the domestic consumers don't suffer. But the crisis that you are seeing, where the queues you are seeing, where the panic you are seeing amongst the domestic consumers is basically news driven. Because I think no domestic consumer has been denied gas. The piped gas is still coming in most of the gas agencies. The cylinders are available. Of course, the gap between two cylinders has been increased in some places. But I think these huge queues that you are seeing in Basti and other places, I think this is more media driven, where panic has been created, because I think domestic consumers have not been denied gas.
Domestic consumers have not been denied gas, but then what happens to all those hostel goers, or those who are staying in hostels, or those who are relying on a close by canteen, working professionals, bachelors, bachelorettes? What happens to all of them? Where do they get their food, right?
This is not such a big crisis that is being made. It's a global crisis. We need to understand. I'm sure all educated people understand that there is a problem which cannot be resolved in short term. Government is trying to do its best. And I think there are alternatives. You have induction cooking, you have other modes of cooking available. And I think people are doing that. And as I said, the government is trying to ramp up. The refineries are trying to ramp up the LPG production. I don't think so there should be a major issue with LPG in course times to come. But LNG and wherever the natural gas is being used, that of course will have a problem, because I don't think so natural gas supplies will be there. The industries, etc., which are dependent on natural gas.
When you say natural gas, what are the sectors that could be affected?
I think fertilizer is one sector which I think is dependent on natural gas. There are a lot of industries which are using natural gas. In fact, along the pipeline, there are a lot of industries which have come which are using natural gas as fuel. So they may be affected, and they must be feeling the heat, because I'm not sure how many LNG cargoes are coming now and how many LNG cargoes are due to come, which are already at sea. Because to the best of my knowledge, I think no LNG ship is leaving Persian Gulf at this moment. And since Qatar has already shut it down, so it will take at least 2 weeks before it can start. And that Qatar can only do when the traffic starts moving through the Strait of Hormuz. And closure of Strait of Hormuz is something which Iran had always said. So when United States carried out this attack, they did know that they are going to do something which is going to create a problem, because Iran does not have the wherewithal to counter US and Israel as far as armaments are concerned. But its geostrategic location had given it that advantage, that it had always threatened that should there be an attack, it would expand, it will attack all those countries from where the attacks are coming, plus it will close the Persian Gulf. And that's what they have done. So unless, of course, there is some stoppage and some action by the United States, I don't think so. The Persian Gulf is going to, the traffic is going to resume. So it seems to be a long drawn war. And I think countries like India may consider mediating between the two warring sides because we are one of the few countries which have good relations with both the sides.
Right. Sir Ujjal Singh, your a little take on Donald Trump, who's basically warning Iran to back off. If not, the country will be obliterated. Do you believe? And you said, yourself that one can't really expect what Trump comes with next. There's no anticipating what comes next. But just in your expertise and sense, if Iran is a country that at least is showing no clear signs of backing down as yet, and they've said it very clearly, they will die but they will not back off. Until the last drop of blood, they will fight. They're doing that. But then, the US and Israel collectively are trying as much as possible to completely wipe out their military prowess. So far, that has not happened. So, do you believe that Trump will stop at any given point and pull back, just keeping in mind the civilian casualties or keeping in mind the larger repercussions around the world?
Well, there are three players in this game. One is the United States, the other is Israel, and the third is Iran. Now, as far as United States is concerned, and I think Captain Bansal referred to this, the mediation will come from the financial markets of the United States. Once inflation takes hold, gasoline prices go up, grocery bills rise, there will be repercussions, political, and these repercussions will feed into financial markets, specifically the bond markets in the United States. And once that contagion takes hold, it is a very difficult situation for President Trump because the November midterms are coming up in a few months, and the Republicans will be pressurizing him to settle this issue. As far as the Israelis are concerned, for them, Iran is an existential threat, whether it is for its nuclear ambitions or for the surrogates that it has in the Middle East, like the Hezbollah, the Hamas, and so on. So whether Israel will synchronize with the United States in cessation will remain to be seen. As far as Iran is concerned, they have a pretty high threshold for pain. They have fought an 8-year war with Iraq, and their leadership has been decapitated. The population seems to be converging around the Islamic regime. So for them to seek any kind of cessation at this moment does not seem realistic. Therefore, I would put my bets on the political situation in the United States, and if the United States economy starts to hurt, I think President Trump will change his tune.
So, why isn't the Gulf doing anything about this? Even today, there were strikes very close to the Dubai airport, and kudos to the UAE regime. They are continuing their flights without interruption, though it slowed down the frequency, but it's one of the busiest airports in the world, and their flights are on. And strikes are on too. There were 2 strikes that happened just very close to the Dubai airport, where 4 individuals, 1 Indian, was injured. So it's scary as it is. There's a lot of bad publicity, negative publicity around Dubai at this point, saying it's a financial hub where all the rich people's money is parked in Dubai, and people are trying to now pull it out because they are worried and uncertainties loom. But so far, none of the Gulf countries have come forward aggressively to counter Iran. Why?
There is a saying that when 2 elephants fight, it is the ants who get trampled. So here the Gulf states are in a very difficult situation. They do not themselves independently have the military capacity to counter Iran. So they can only look on and hope for the best and try for mediation. And now people have been talking about opening the Hormuz Strait, and there is talk about minesweepers and naval escorts and so on. But let us be very clear. The Hormuz Strait will open when the insurance market starts functioning. As of now, the reinsurance market in London does not accept risks involved in passage of vessels through the Hormuz Strait. And for that to happen, the situation has to normalize. There is no shortcut to that.
A quick one before I come to Captain Bansal. Subramanya Holla, you were wanting to say something before your line got cut. What, in your view, is the alternate choice that restaurants can opt for in the lack of these gas cylinders? And the fact that people are saying this is just panic and nothing else, that the situation is not as bad, would you agree?
I hope so. It is not as bad as people are saying, but the ground reality here is that a lot of restaurants are facing the problem. The alternate is either expensive or it is not available. See, one of the alternates were induction coils or the electrical heaters. And we found that the market is having very little stock of all these things. And because of that, we are not able to do anything about that. And induction coils, you need a lead time at least of 2 to 4 days for people to prepare it and give it to you. So I don't see any alternate. Firewood as an issue. Today we had a meeting with the Chief Secretary of the state, and they said we'll get firewood. But firewood to come to the city will take 2-3 days. So firewood is not an option today in the kitchens because it is so difficult for us to give a place for firewood in the kitchen. The kitchen becomes very unhygienic. So these are all a lot of issues which we are facing now. Of course, we are looking at alternatives, but on the immediately we don't have really anything about alternate. And whatever little we have, few hotels can do. The biggest problem we are facing is most of the restaurants don't have electricity power because they are in a rented building, and in the rented building they have limited power. So even to put electric, they don't have the power supply.
Yeah.
So the Chief Secretary today has promised we'll do something about it. Let us see what happens.
This charcoal, wood cooking and all that, how much load can it take?
Today's kitchens are not designed for all these things. It is not at all designed for charcoal, wood or anything. So we have to find an alternate place for these to be prepared.
These high-end restaurants that are using electrical appliances, do you think that can balance the load?
Even the high-end restaurants are not using electrical equipment. They are also dependent on gas. Maybe a small percentage of their cooking is with electric. They can manage with the electrical food, whatever you can give but wherever you need gas, to do an alternate, at least you need a week or a 10 days lead time. And I think that is where we are getting stuck with.
Well, Captain Bansal, there you have it. The more I get out of our Hotels Association person, the more the problem seems a lot more amplified. I don't know how long this will last, and I don't know if, see, we are not blaming the Indian government because it's a scenario that was unexpected. They're doing what they can, but yeah.
I would like to say, in fact, government, we are disappointed that I'm with the central government. I know the problem. We understand completely, because we told the Chief Secretary today in Karnataka that at least 75% of the cooking gas production goes to the domestic gas, and 25% is for the commercial. So what we have requested is that if you can, 10% can be diverted to the commercial side, we can fulfill 50% of the usage. And I don't know, somebody has to take the call, and Center has not given a reply. And they have straight away said no commercial supply. And in one day, if you stop it, where will the restaurants go?
Yeah. Captain Bansal?
Yeah, I agree. As I said, there is a problem, and I think commercial gas is not available because obviously if you stop supply for the domestic consumers, there's going to be bigger chaos. A household which is cooking at home will have a problem. So I guess that's the reason why the government has taken the most viable solution. I'm sure in due course they will be augmenting the commercial gas supplies also. some of the menus may have to be cut. And I think obviously in times of crisis like this, you don't have to have a biryani every day. You can have ordinary rice and dal, what requires lesser cooking. So some amount of hardships will have to be faced by those who are actually visiting these restaurants, going for tandoor, which consumes excessive. And so those things probably may have to be done. And to say that firewood and coal has not been used again will be very wrong. I think for centuries we have been using it. So I think there are alternatives. There will be some discomfort undoubtedly. But as I said, I don't see this solution improving in near future. So we have to be prepared that this sort of a shortage will continue.
When you say this is not going to improve in near future, what are we talking about? 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weks? Or more?
I don't. So as far as gas is concerned, the situation will improve in 1 or 2 weeks, because if we are looking for LNG cargoes from Qatar or something to augment the things, I don't think so that's going to happen immediately. I personally do not visualize any shortage of crude as far as India is concerned. So our refineries will be continuing. I think the panic as far as petrol.
So our petrol prices are not going to go up as feared.
No, petrol prices may go up because the crude prices are rising. The rising price is actually a factor of market. If you are getting a crude for more than $100, obviously the price of petrol and diesel will be higher because the input costs are more. So rising prices.
If we have to compare this kind of the stark reality that we see in Pakistan, okay, of course we are far more superior, more well planned, our economy is doing well. It's the opposite for Pakistan. But Pakistan says no fuel, no cooking, schools are shut, roads are empty, vehicles are not on the road because they are scared fuel is getting over. I mean, this kind of panic, it's like end of the world scenes in Pakistan. At least that's what media projections are.
In Pakistan's case, they are a net importer of products as well as crude. In our case, we are a net exporter of products. We have over refining capacity. So as long as we get crude, we will never have a shortage of products. Please understand. So that's not the case. Pakistan imports diesel as well as crude. Secondly, in Pakistan's case, most of the urban cities have got piped gas. So once you actually shut down the piped gas, then it creates a huge problem, because piped gas doesn't make a distinction between who's a commercial consumer and who's a domestic consumer, at least as far as they are concerned. So that's where the problem is, because the gas pipelines are being shut down, then the domestic consumers also suffer. And in Pakistan's case, the diesel storage capacity is extremely limited. Their refineries were already having a problem. So Pakistan, as far as oil is concerned, has a systemic problem. So as far as India is concerned, I don't visualize a problem as far as products are concerned. Neither diesel nor petrol is going to run out. Now, rising prices is a market phenomena. You will see rising prices at least for the time being till US can bring Venezuelan crude into the market, or the countries like UAE and Saudi Arabia can augment the export through their terminals which are outside Persian Gulf, like in the case of Fujairah, in the case of UAE, and for Saudi Arabia, the Red Sea terminals, where they've got pipelines to bring the crude to that places. So I think crude is not a bigger problem. I think LNG in the short term is definitely a problem. We'll have to really look for alternative sources of LNG. I'm sure government must be looking, and they must be tying up. Our government has always been very proactive, and I think you would see that some LNG cargoes would be coming from destinations which we have hitherto not tapped.
Chandra Prakash could probably give us a final word of assurance. Chandra Prakash, any word from the central government on how this problem could be eased?
I think you're mentioning me, Arvind. I don't think
Chandra Prakash is here.
This is Arvind.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm Arvind actually, not Chandra Prakash. Anyway.
Oh,
hello, can you hear me?
I beg your pardon. It seems like we have a mistake there. Sorry, Arvind. Yes.
Yeah, no issues, no issues. As far as domestic is concerned, I don't see any problem in government supplying for domestic cylinders. All that you're seeing now temporarily, the rush and all that, is because of the panic. And this will settle down in a few days, 1 or 2 days. And domestic supplies, there won't be any issues. As far as I know, and as far as the supplies are coming, domestic cylinders are being supplied by distributors regularly. As Mr. Subramaniam Hola said, commercials, they've stopped for hotels and few industries. except for essentials. They've stopped commercials. So that they'll have to find an alternative. I mean, we sympathize with them because they're also valued customers, but we sympathize with them. But the government's priority today is only domestic. So because if there is any shortage in domestic, then you might end up in chaos. So the government is rightly prioritizing domestic, and there won't be any shortfall in domestic.
A quick one, Subramanya Holla, your take on what would be a message to people, to customers who flock to restaurants. I mean, should you hold off because, you know, it's such a catch-20 situation for you. You have to pay your salaries and, you know, you can't even ask people not to come. And if they come, what are you going to offer them? So
This is like the third COVID for us.
yeah, yeah.
And we have already started reducing on the menus, and some restaurants have cut down on their timings. And the news for our restaurateurs we are telling is you cut down on the menu and whatever service we can. I don't know about other cities, but Bangalore, 70% of the population depends on outside food. Every family at least once a day eats outside, and they're highly dependent on the restaurants here. And Bangalore has a lot of bachelors and a lot of techies who are living here in Bangalore. They live out of the restaurant food, and they will have to live with a limited menu for at least for the next 10 days. I hope so the war gets over in 10 days. If it doesn't, it will be prolonged, and then it's going to be more complicated because salaries, employment, whether we should have full staff, and all these issues will come. And then we have to see how the time people are going to handle this, because it's a long drawn process. I think so.
It is, and I really hope that you tide past this. We tide past this crisis as soon as we can. But I appreciate you joining us. I request Ambassador Ujjwal Singh and Captain Alok to stay with us. I'm going to quickly present to our viewers on what the war on day 12 looks like. A quick roundup. We're looking at the West Asia war that's now entered a far more dangerous phase.